Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into the world of a microscopic organism that's become a major health threat, especially for the most vulnerable people out there. Its name is Enterocytozoon bieneusi, and its story, well, it's a wild ride of mistaken identity, stealthy global travel, and straight-up biological warfare at the cellular level.
So let's just jump right in with a question that really cuts to the chase. For decades, we were pretty sure we knew what this thing was, but modern science came along and completely flipped the script, forcing us to rethink pretty much everything about how we classify it and, more importantly, how we fight it.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll uncover its surprising identity. Then, we'll track its journey across the globe. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of how it attacks our cells and why it hits some people so much harder than others. We'll also cover the challenges in finding and treating it. And finally, we'll zoom in on a case in the Netherlands and see what the future of research looks like.
Okay, so to really get a handle on Enterocytozoon bieneusi, we have to start with this big case of mistaken identity. Seriously, for decades, scientists had it pegged all wrong, and fixing that mistake has changed literally everything.
So while its extended family, the Microsporidia, have been known since the 1800s, Enterocytozoon bieneusi itself really burst onto the scene in 1985. This was right at the height of the HIV/AIDS pandemic. It was found in a patient with that severe wasting syndrome that became such a terrible hallmark of the disease. Right away, that marked it as a really serious opportunistic pathogen. Now, this is where the story takes a fascinating turn, all thanks to some amazing genetic detective work. For years, everyone called it a protozoan parasite. But when scientists analyzed its DNA, they found a game-changing clue. Its spore walls contain chitin. That's the exact same tough stuff you find in mushroom cell walls. And just like that, the biology books had to be rewritten. Enterocytozoon bieneusi was officially moved into the kingdom of fungi.
And here you have it, its official address in the Tree of Life, planted firmly in the fungi kingdom. Now, this isn't just some academic detail, it's a huge shift because it means researchers now have to look for antifungal solutions and completely rethink its evolutionary story.
But, whether we call it a fungus or a parasite, one thing is absolutely certain. Enterocytozoon bieneusi is the ultimate freeloader. It's what's known as an obligate intracellular endoparasite, which is a fancy way of saying it has absolutely no life of its own. It has to invade one of our cells to survive, hijacking it from the inside and basically stealing its energy to multiply.
Now, this freeloader of a fungus doesn't just stay in one place. Next up, we're going to map out how Enterocytozoon bieneusi has become this silent globetrotter, using a massive network of hosts to get to pretty much every corner of the world.
This chart gives you a really clear snapshot of its impact. So, look, while almost 7% of the general population might be carrying it, see what happens with people suffering from diarrhea. That number more than doubles to over 16%. It's a huge red flag that when these symptoms pop up, this organism is a major suspect. And here's the real challenge when it comes to transmission. This isn't just a human problem, not even close. Enterocytozoon bieneusi infects a huge range of animals. We're talking livestock like pigs and cattle, and even our pets. These animals act as reservoirs, shedding spores into the environment, which can then contaminate our food and water. All it takes from there is the fecal-oral route, and you've got an infection.
So how does a tiny fungal spore get from some contaminated water into the very core of our intestinal cells? The way it does this, well, it's one of the most incredible and, frankly, violent acts in all of microbiology.
This five-step process is just mind-blowing. After you ingest a spore, it senses it's in the right environment inside your small intestine. Then it fires this coiled-up filament called a polar tube. Think of it like a microscopic hypodermic needle. It punctures a nearby intestinal cell and injects its entire contents inside. Once it's in, it hijacks the cell's machinery to make thousands of copies of itself until the cell literally bursts open, releasing a whole new army of spores to infect more cells or to be passed out and infect a new host.
But the invasion itself, that's only half the story. The outcome of the infection really boils down to just one thing: the person who gets infected. It's your immune system that decides if this is just a minor inconvenience or a life-threatening disaster.
And right here, you can see the two starkly different outcomes. If you have a healthy immune system, you might not even know you're infected. Maybe you get some mild temporary diarrhea, or maybe you have no symptoms at all as your body just clears it out. But for someone who's immunocompromised, say a patient with advanced AIDS or an organ transplant recipient, it is a completely different world. The infection becomes chronic, causing severe, relentless diarrhea, which leads to horrible weight loss, malnutrition, and it can absolutely be fatal.
For HIV patients, everything comes down to this number: a CD4 T-cell count below 100 cells per microliter. That's the danger zone. Once you drop below that threshold, the immune system just can't control the infection anymore, and that debilitating, life-threatening form of the disease takes over. It's why restoring immunity is every bit as important as any drug.
Knowing the danger is one thing, but fighting it is another story entirely. So how do we find and fight this elusive microbe, especially when it gives us so many problems?
Diagnosing Enterocytozoon bieneusi is really tricky because its spores are just so incredibly tiny. This table shows our main options. Using special stains with a microscope can work, but it's not very sensitive. The gold standard is a powerful transmission electron microscope, but that's way too slow and expensive for routine use. And that's why today, PCR, a molecular test that hunts for the organism's DNA, is the absolute best choice because of its amazing sensitivity and accuracy.
And treating this thing is just as hard. It's naturally resistant to a lot of common drugs. The most effective medicine, fumagillin, can cause serious bone marrow damage, so you have to monitor patients very carefully. Because of that, for HIV patients, the best course of action, hands down, is antiretroviral therapy. By boosting their own immune system, their bodies can often fight off and clear the infection all on their own, without needing these potentially toxic drugs.
Okay, let's bring this global issue down to a more local level. We'll take a look at the situation in the Netherlands and then see what's on the horizon for research.
So even in a country with fantastic sanitation like the Netherlands, the threat is still there. Major rivers like the Rhine and the Meuse actually carry spores from countries upstream, which then contaminates the surface water. This makes it a constant environmental risk, particularly for travelers coming home from endemic areas and for the country's own immunocompromised population. The big takeaway for prevention is this: standard water treatment is not always going to cut it. The spores are really tough and can actually survive chlorination. So, for anyone at high risk, the advice is crystal clear. Boil your drinking water, use a certified filter, and always practice good hand hygiene.
This quote really points to where the science is going. By studying the genome of Enterocytozoon bieneusi, scientists found that it has basically thrown out most of the metabolic genes that other organisms need to live. It's a true master of minimalism. And that makes it a perfect, if very strange, model for understanding the absolute bare essentials of life and the most extreme forms of parasitic evolution.
We've covered a ton of ground today, and all this information was compiled using a deep dive into the latest research. If you want to go even further, you can find a complete list of all our sources in the Notebook LM document, which is linked for you right in the description below.
And that brings us to a final thought. Enterocytozoon bieneusi has stripped itself down to the bare minimum, becoming completely dependent on its host to survive. It's an incredibly successful strategy. In our own highly interconnected, interdependent world, it really makes you wonder, what other hidden threats, biological or otherwise, are operating on that exact same principle?
If you found this deep dive valuable, please subscribe to The Explainer and let us know what you think in the comments below. We'd really love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.